All right. Another week. Let's get this going. What's up, Twitch? What's up, YouTube? This is FJ. Making sure this stream is running. And it is BrackCast number 30. Usually every 5 we do like a mukbang chill type of thing. And I think we were going to try to do that today, but it's dependent on how many people can actually show up. Let me pop this out here. And pop this out. Alright, so I'm going to use this for now until hopefully more people show up for the stream. We're basing this stream today on kind of like that idea of every 5 that we were going to come together and sort of to see how everyone's doing. Maybe I'll bring this up as an example. This will probably be referred to numerous times in the stream, but podcast example. Is it? All right, there it is, guys. Let me pop up this video. There we go. And let's focus on. Okay, so normalize meeting with friends every week to discuss mental health, business, and the reality of life. Speak life into your people and allow them to speak good energy back into you. I just got a message, guys. 1 second. People coming? Okay. So, I mean, weekly. You'd think that seems pretty often. But I get the message behind it, like normalizing the fact that this should be something we can openly talk about every week. And it's probably a good thing. It's a good idea. It's a good opportunity for me to talk like this first because I want to talk about this past weekend. So every year we get together, a group of us get together. This happens to be our 10th annual King Cardin get together. So 10 years ago, a dance crew decided to go out west coast of Ontario and meet up in King Cardin just as like a weekend cottage type of or beach type of getaway. It's only like used to be one night or 2 days, Saturday and Sunday, and over the past few years we're extending that Friday, Saturday, Sunday as kind of like a nice little summer getaway, not too far from home. And it allows us to still do that too during COVID because it's the same province. It's not like we have to leave. We have to go too far. It's not like we have to go too far from our local. And it's an awesome time. We don't really get to see everyone in this crew or get to like even converse with much of these people, these friends in Kincardine. This circle, I mean, throughout the year, it's turning out to be that a lot of the friendships we have with the people in the circle, we kind of only visit once a year, maybe twice if we can stretch out another event throughout the year. And you know, as much as you would like to be able to catch up with everybody there, the larger the group ends up being. If it's like, I don't know, I think this year, how many do we have this year? 11, I think we had, maybe 11 or 13 this year. You know, you don't really get an opportunity to really have one-on-ones with anyone, which is totally fine. But I guess there's a lot of expectation with just how much fun you're gonna have, how much you know, activities you guys might want to do, or just if you're just gonna hang out and chill. But I really do like the opportunity to try and approach everybody individually than having like kind of more deeper, more meaningful conversations with everyone to just see how they're doing. And I look back at this past weekend, and I don't think I really had the opportunity to do that. And I kind of regret not being able to. Like I want to see how people are doing. I want to, you know, it's inspiring for me to see things when things are going really well for people and they've got good plans or big plans happening in the next year, or things are really moving forward, let's say with their life. Uh, so the reality of life in this post anyway. Uh, do I have this here? Will this work? Does this work? Oh no. I mean, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just do this. Turn this back on. So what tends to happen with me, and I think a few others also in the crew, is after this particularly high, emotionally high weekend of like fun and relaxation. Obviously, there's alcohol involved. There's a lot of drinking. But I'd say it's not like out of control drinking, but we definitely welcome being able to let loose for the weekend. But the following week after this weekend, from my memory, I think I made it to eight of the 10 years. So I don't think I made the first one or the second one, but every single one after that I've been to. And it's such an emotional high that the following week is a very much an emotional low. Like the what's that, what would you call that? The uh withdrawal from like all the friends being together, not having to worry about like the stresses of life. It literally feels like kind of like a all-inclusive full week getaway, but it's condensed within just the weekend. And maybe that's why over the years we've started to really start to stretch out and extend as much as possible. So now we include the Friday. We take the Friday off to make it longer, because sometimes it just doesn't feel like enough. And sometimes not everyone can make it for 2 nights either. They can only maybe make it for the 1 night, so then we really only get to chill on the Sunday. But I guess I wanted to talk about personally how hard it's been to bounce back from that emotional high. I live in the past couple years I'd say. I come back and I live alone, so it's quite the contrast from going with like a weekend of just being with people all around you, really close fun people, to then like nobody again. So it's a really high dosage of like what is it, endorphins and happiness, and I forget what the chemical is, and then dopamine hits of like fun times. Also, it's on a beach. The temperature, like we were lucky this summer again too. Our weather was really nice. We had like a beautiful beach day on Saturday too. Good heat, like blue skies. The water was definitely like welcoming and inviting to swim in and like playing in the lake. And so yeah, now back here in Toronto. This past week has been like hot and muggy. I'm gonna say, like, not to just try and contrast how low it's been. Actually, I got really lucky on the way back from Kincardine. On Sunday night, I was coming back really late, and I was almost home about midnight, and my friend Warren, part of Brack, they're having a bachelor party kind of week for his best friend, and one of the guys who was part of the plans wasn't able to make it, wasn't available to do part of the activities, and they needed someone to fill in. And it just so happened, because still not that busy with COVID, Not a lot of work yet coming, but it will be by the end of August. But I was lucky to have this week free. Let me switch back to this here. Sorry, I just realized I'm in this bit too much here. Oops. Oops. Let's do this. Oh. What happened? What happened? Struggling here. 1 second. If I do this, and then does this work? Nice. We'll keep it like this one for now, so more people come. So on my way home, midnight, Sunday night, I get a message, and they're like, "FJ, are you busy tomorrow?" And I'm thinking, "Oh, nice. I can still hang out in Toronto with some people and maybe play some tennis." And turned out they're like, "Do you want to go to Ottawa?" I'm like, "What?" Like, "Do you want to go whitewater rafting?" Because that's what they had planned. And the past couple weeks, I've been listening more to like the power of now and trying to take full advantage of the moment, really living in the moment, in the present. So I was like, when else am I gonna have an opportunity to go like whitewater rafting? It's been something I've been thinking about for a while, but I never really had an opportunity to try. So I said, you know what? F it. Let's do it. Let's go. So I said yes. We were leaving in like 7 hours from that time. I had to go home, like unpack the car from the weekend because it was like messed up. But it's not all of it, just the vitals that I need to get out of there, like the critical stuff I need to get out of the car. Like unpacked, like got washed up, and then again packed for the next trip, the very next day. Get cleaned up and try to get some sleep. I ended up getting to sleep until like 3 in the morning, but doesn't matter. Got up the next day, heading for Ottawa, and then we ended up spending a full day, getting there. Like the whole excursion was like another 4 hours, then dinner, and then coming back. And usually the Monday after Kincardine that weekend is a lot of again withdrawal, but like at least I'm kind of recovering because my body's tired. I don't really sleep very well during that weekend, or either trying to manage like sleeping all in one place, whether it be like camping kind of situation or in a house. This past couple of years, because of COVID, we were staying at hotels. But yeah, let's just say sleeping isn't so great. So my plan usually is on Monday is recovery day to catch up on sleep. That didn't happen. Added whitewater rafting on the Monday. Tuesday, luckily, I got to sleep in, but the bachelor festivities were still going. So then I got to go to that again, take part in the festivities on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, I got to sleep in again, got some work done. And it just so happened, about half the group from this Kincardine weekend wanted to get together and watch a movie. And it was great. We watched Fast F9, family. The whole theme was family. And you know what? Like, I don't know what it is, but that was a really nice kind of like a nice controlled bring down from the high of the weekend. Like the Monday, it was still full, like full throttle, kind of 100%. Another emotional high with the whole wholesome experience of whitewater rafting with like a tight group and like really bonding. And Tuesday, I got to finally catch up to some sleep, and then it was again socializing. Got to go out for like a lunch, and then watched a Rogers Cup tennis match. Had a great time cheering for the players. A dinner back home, and then again, like it was almost like, I don't know what it was, but it was almost like it was designed. This week was designed for me to recover from Kincardine, whereas in past years it was very depressing to come back from that weekend and just be by yourself. especially last year with COVID, like social distancing and all that. It didn't really kick in yet with like the shutdown. I think the shutdown happened like later last year, come September, October. So we still managed to go on King Cardin last year and do the hotel thing. Of course, the masks, and you had to like social distance in the facility, just like this year. But you know, this year definitely it felt a little bit more inviting, being able to eat in a restaurant. Um, Actually, it was pretty similar last year and this year. Anyway, I feel blessed. The fact that I'm trying to, I was trying to do that too throughout the weekend, like live in the now, like really be present in all these festivities and not like dread the end of the get together and not think about the past so much and like wish how it was so much better before, because we would usually we would even have more than 11. Some I think some years we were up to like maybe 15, 16, closer to 20, I don't know. And we would all stay at one house, maybe set up like tents and hammocks and sleeping bags out in the yard. And so a lot of the memories when we would refer to King Cardin weekend was like, yeah, we miss how it was before, or we really wish we could have done what we've done in the past. So like a lot of living in the memories of the past. And then at the end of the week, at the end of the weekend, we're saying goodbye and we're all like going to drive back home. Everyone's like, hopefully next year, we're gonna go back to how it was. And a lot of just like planning for the future. And reading, listening to the audiobook The Power of Now in the last month for me, for so like has been an eye opener. It's not so much that it's like such new ideas for me to try and understand. Like they've been kind of introduced to me in the past, and I've just never really actively tried to practice this whole being present. And I'm trying to I'm starting to pay more attention to other people when I notice that they're being very present in what's happening, and I'm trying to adopt that kind of practice. I'm trying to be more thankful too. It's not it's tough. Don't get me wrong. This is definitely part of mental health, understanding what you need mentally, what your body might need to just to physically recover from like a very active weekend drinking, or lack of sleep. So getting that kind of physical recovery, but like the mental recovery too of bouncing back from such an emotional high. So I consider myself an extroverted introvert, which apparently means ambivert, but I don't know about that. I do think it's, if you're an extrovert, you feed off the energy of other people around you. You you definitely like thrive in group situations, and yeah, you're empowered by a lot of people around you. But when you're an introvert, you give off energy. It's not so much that you don't like being around people, but that whole experience of being around people drains you of energy rather than you feeding off the energy of others. I think I feel that more. On the exterior, I might look more like an extrovert because I'm louder, I'm more active, and I do find myself craving for more attention than normal, and you know trying to stand out from the crowd. But I think energy wise, I do relate more to an introvert. Like I need alone time to refresh and recover and replenish from such a emotional high. And it was really cool how I just lately I've just adopted not saying no to any opportunities. If it's a new job or a contract or kind of gig that can come up, I wouldn't say no. Um, yeah, social invitations or gatherings, like going to Ottawa on a whim to go whitewater rafting, being invited out to a bar, and then to um, what's that called? Rogers Cup tennis tournament to watch a match, and then movie night. Just like, let's go, let's go. I'm tired, like I'm physically tired, and normally I would just want to kind of stay home and bum around, but I knew that I kind of needed that, like, that gradual bring down from such an emotional high of the weekend. And I would have to say, like, this past week has been a lot easier for me to 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 not feel that extreme level of depression after such an emotional high like King Carding. So ready for shrooms? No, no, I am not ready for shrooms. I think I've done what I've experienced what I needed to experience with psychedelics enough with the acid the one time. uh, have you done Ren? Or I should just call it, yeah. Okay, it says Rhythm of Ren. Have you done any kind of psychedelics before? Oh, you have. What were they? Which version? Not acid. Do you want to refrain from being specific? Or is it shrooms? Or is it like, what is there, like peyote, right? And DMT is the other ones. Snail dose. Oh, small. I thought you like maybe lick the back of a snail or like the back of a frog. But okay, small dose of shrooms. What happened? Like, what kind of reaction happens first? Here, let me switch this up. This for now. Nothing? Munchies? No hallucinations? No anxiety? No, changing of colors? Senses, like your senses heightening? Oh, you need more. Too small of a dose. It was a micro dose. Well, I haven't necessarily had a great response from anything edible. Even just like, gummies with weed, like weed. What was it? A brownie was my first edible. And then was it a gummy? Yeah, the next two times were gummies. And even with just that, I would hallucinate, and I would experience extreme levels of anxiety and like stress. And I think I've learned my lesson. I don't think I'll ever take another edible. Uh well, yes, it is, they're hilarious at first. Maybe too it was a bad idea. I always mix it with drinking. So yeah, I'm a super lightweight. Even the tiniest, smallest dose compared to other people, I go crazy. And I don't go crazy. I just start. My mind goes crazy. I laugh. It starts up very pleasant, lots of laughter, lots of smiles and happiness, and then it brings slowly down that spectrum to, like, then I get quiet, then I get a little like angry and like irritable, and then I get super sad. Like, too emotional. And the acid was similar, but the only difference with the acid was it was stretched out rather than a 12-hour high or trip, I'd call it, than a 12-hour trip with the gummies or the brownie. It was like a 32-hour stretched out slow motion version of the same thing. So I would still be open to try like maybe shrooms or DMT if I knew I had no responsibilities for the next couple days. I felt, and I was like in the safety of like a really trustworthy group. Maybe if we had gone to, again, a weekend away where we're like, I don't know, an Airbnb or a hotel where I didn't have a lot of responsibilities. Yeah, I'd try it. Safe environment for sure. And well, anything that I, the whole Molly, MDMA thing. curious about that still too. You know, it's not quite the same kind of view I had when I was younger with drugs. Like, say no to drugs, but this is not the same kind of drugs. It's not like, you know, I don't think I want to try cocaine or heroin or crack and all that stuff. I mean, cocaine is a little curious. I'm a little curious about that, but not to say that I'm willing to try it. But it's such a like a luxury drug with the rich people. Yeah, maybe not. I don't want to get addicted. I don't want to get addicted. Knowing me, I probably wouldn't get addicted. I don't think it's not in me to get addicted. Why can't I get more? Huh. High risk? High risk what, legally? Or you mean like... Oh. Oh. Look at you, Mr. Expert. Oh, let me link this in the chat here. Looks like Deji's coming in. Welcome, Deji. Let me put this in here. www.twitch.tv Cast 30. Alright, there we go. Both biochemistry and other things. Really? Alright. I'll trust you there. I won't question it. Like, you know how, like, are psychedelics illegal in Canada? Are they actually illegal? Like, you know how Joe Rogan talks so openly about DMT? Okay, so they're illegal. So like possession. How do people talk so openly about psychedelics? Like you get arrested for possession? From what I think you need to have it on you. But if you're high off, let's say you've already consumed it. Oh, or using. Okay, so yeah, that puts more emphasis on the fact that you want to be in a safe place. In a safe environment, away from law enforcement. Lots of water. Where you don't get lost. Yeah. You were camping? I don't know if that's safe, man. That's scary. What if something, you know, some emergency happened? You're like walking along, you don't really, you know, and then you're like, oh, you were just in your tent. You munchies. You didn't have to leave. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, so did you hear about my acid trip? I'm curious if you actually heard about what happened. I only took like a quarter or a third of the little tiny cardboard box thing. It was in Tremblant. We were there for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Snowboarding trip. And, you know, we arrived Friday afternoon. Awesome Airbnb. We start drinking. Start drinking while we have dinner for a couple hours, and then all of a sudden one of the guys is like, hey, you want to try some acid? I'm like, I don't know. I think if I hadn't been drinking, I would have been more resistant, but I was in such a great mood. He's like, if you're in a good mood, you're going to be in an even better mood. The whole point is that you start off in a good place. If you're in a bad place, don't, because it'll just enhance that. And I'm like, well, I mean, having a great time, you know, with alcohol, and we're gone for the weekend. It's a snowboarding trip in the winter. Sure. And so he, you know, just puts it in my mouth. I didn't really have anything to like reject it. then it disintegrates. I don't really notice anything for the first, I don't know, half an hour. Or maybe from what I don't even know. Maybe I did. I don't even recall how I went from that night drinking in the Airbnb. Somehow we made it to a bar. Dancing, music, more drinks. Apparently I didn't wear a jacket. I didn't have like my glasses. I think I was wearing sunglasses at night. So the first 2 hours were a lot of fun. We managed to stay. I remember in the club I needed to go to the washroom. I almost got lost, but I ended up in the washroom. I managed to go to the washroom, and then I had to find them again, and that was a chore. That was pretty difficult for me to find them again. But somehow I did. Stuck together for the rest of the night. I have glimpses, and apparently I took like some recordings, some videos also of like the night, which I look back on as very embarrassing. But by 2:30 in the morning, back in my room, somehow they got me home. I don't remember. I'm in bed, and that's when it went from an awesome, wonderful time to ridiculous levels of anxiety, because I remember seeing things. Like colors were changing, very vibrant, very warm, saturated. I remember I had to go to the washroom, and then I I I guess I did my business and went back to the room, and for some reason, like 3 or 4 times over that night, I repeated that. Like it felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again, at least 4 times. Wake up the next morning, sun's out. Obviously, I don't remember the colors of my room at night, but the colors in the morning are different with the sunlight, so then all these colors are even more vibrant. Other people are waking up because we're gonna go snowboarding. We're gonna go snowboarding that day, and I didn't think I could. Like I didn't think I would be capable. Like FJ, you alright? I would just shake my head. Quiet.
Yo,
No.
can you hear me?
Yo, what's up, Dej? Yep, can hear you, dude.
Yo, am I clear? Nice and clear?
Very clear. Oh, let me
Excellent.
switch you back
Excellent.
to here. You turning
So
your
you did
camera on
some,
today? Yeah.
I will in a sec. Just
Alright.
prepping some stuff. You did some drugs, eh?
It was my first and likely last experience with acid. Yes. Should have
What,
stayed
how long
home.
ago was this?
2 winters ago. 2 winters ago.
And you did it with people?
Yes. There
But you slept.
were like 6 of us, 6 or 7 of us in the group. And it
But you
was in
slept
Trumbull.
alone?
Yeah.
Or did you guys have like
Yes.
a cottage thing?
Some guys. Apparently, I was in a room with 2 beds to be split with someone else, but I think that guy ended up sleeping on the couch. So
Okay. Oh, so it wasn't like you were just doing drugs by yourself, because you don't want to do that.
no. Well, Ren, you're
Yeah.
saying I should have stayed home, made some art. No, dude. Somehow they're having breakfast. I'm like barely ready. They're like, FJ, come on, let's go. Don't waste the day. And it's true. Like I went there to snowboard. So I'm like, somehow I showered. Oh man, that shower too that morning, I was like lost in the washroom. Like I was like the water felt different. I'm thinking like, am I gonna walk out naked in front of these people? I hope I don't. Like I was still like cognitive and like embarrassed enough not to walk out naked. But somehow I shower. I get all my gear on. You know, it's a chore putting on snowboarding gear, especially the boots. Somehow I get my boots. And like the gear, and then we're walking to the resort. I'm kind of half there. I'm just following people. I just pick a target and just follow. And then I need to get my lift ticket at the ticket booth with this woman. And I was like, I don't think I can talk to this woman. Can somebody go talk to this woman for me and get my ticket? They're like, no, F, you can do it. Don't worry, you're fine. I walk up to her and I'm like, hi. She's like, bonjour. So, you know, it's in Montreal, so I I'm like, I need my ticket. She's like, okay, do you have a reservation? Or do you already buy them? Like, yes. I yes, I bought them online. And for some reason, she's like, okay, do you have the email to show me? And I don't know what it was. My brain, I I reached in the pocket where my phone was. I didn't even know my phone was in there, but I reached in the pocket, pulled out my email. Luckily, I just took a couple swipes down, found the email, opened the PDF, showed her. She gave me my tickets. I was like, holy shit. In my mind, I'm like, how did I just do that? Get my tickets, whatever. It's a full day in Tremblant, and then we did 2 runs. It felt like the longest runs, like first lining up for the gondola. I was so quiet in the gondola, everyone else was talking. We do a run. I managed not to fall at all. I thought I'd be falling. Yeah, I think my body kind of just kicked in muscle memory, but my brain wasn't always there. But really, maybe it was really there. I just the slightest things would capture my focus. We make it down to the bottom. We kind of rest for a bit. I'm still feeling so anxious. Time-wise, 15 minutes would feel like 2 hours. And I was like, when is this day over? I just want to go home. We go back in the gondola for the second time to go up to the top. And it just so happened that the same guy in the first time going up the gondola was in our gondola again. So here I am thinking I'm living a loop. Like, is this happening again? Is reality real right now? How is this guy in our gondola again? But it just so happened it was just a coincidence that the same guys, 2 guys, were in the gondola with us both times going up. So that was like, that threw me off. Go back to the top. All I told myself was follow the guy who gave me the acid. I was like, just follow him. Don't lose him. If anyone else, doesn't matter. Just as long as you stay with him, you'll be okay. Again, did another green run. Didn't fall at all. Took photos. We went back to the lodge. He put on a Netflix special about psychedelics, which made me even more anxious about other people like dying and coming back, seeing the light and like all this crazy stuff. We watched a movie called Frozen, not the animated movie, but the movie with people getting trapped in the ski lift, snowboarding skiing movie, and they get trapped in the ski lift, they all die. Like, and it was so funny because I'd seen the movie before, but I forgot that I'd seen the movie before. So I felt like as I was watching the movie, I was predicting everything that was happening before it happened. But I think it was actually me watching it, and then I would observe it with my eyes, and then as it would happen, I'm thinking that I'm predicting it, but really it's just I'm slow to speak about what I just saw. It was it's just
That movie was horrible.
Yeah. Oh, you saw it? Yeah, it's...
Oh man, it was like, oh my god, this is like a horrible situation to be in.
Well, they could have easily avoided it a number of times, but they chose to do all the wrong things.
And then when that dude, oh man, yeah, when that dude jumped from the seat, and I was like, oh, he's gonna be all right. He's gonna be all right. And then he broke his fucking
Broke his
legs.
legs.
Yo, that was nuts.
Yeah.
And then all you hear is like, guys, look away. And then you just see like wolves surrounding him.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, this guy's not gonna make it.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's funny because I was thinking about this Dave Chappelle joke when he was talking about your comment about like 15 minutes felt like 2 hours.
Yeah.
There's this
the bit.
Yeah, there's this bit where he's talking about like how he's on mushrooms and like he went to go get a haircut. Have you heard it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he went to go get a haircut.
He starts with the
like
time. It's like it's 2:15 in the.
That's the part that killed me, yo. He was like, was it 2:15? I was like, oh man, I'm way too high. He's like, I ran around the block 4 times. Yeah. I read every book I had. I checked the time, it was 2:16. I said, God damn.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that was hilarious.
Yeah. Went
Yeah,
home,
my
took a shower, I slept, I ran around the block 4 times. Checked my clock, 2:16. God damn. Yeah.
um, yeah, every year, my couple of guys from Waterloo and
Mm-hmm.
we go for like a cottage trip, like a yearly mushroom tea cottage trip.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good vibes, you know. We go there like August, so we kind of get a recharge for the next half of the year, and then like we all come up with all these different like epiphanies and shit like that, and get like some sense of like new direction or purpose. It's pretty good experience, you know, if you're with the right people in a great frame of mind. Because we're always around like nature and stuff, so like all that stuff just kind of just feeds into the experience. Yeah, man.
You should podcast that.
Hmm. We probably will at some point.
Is that still up and coming for this month for you?
Oh, no. That happened already.
Oh, okay.
That was like a month ago. That's where I came up with that whole. I don't know if you remember me talking to you about the like the periodic, no, the cosmic table of elements, about
I
how like human beings like aren't allowed to like manipulate other human beings because like we're not like gods. Do you remember me having a conversation about like gods and men and why like gods have the right to manipulate beings and like we don't really have that right?
I don't know, man.
Drawing a blank.
I feel like you did talk about like elements. I remember elements and but the god thing, I don't know if I recall that.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'm gonna let you keep talking. I'm gonna come back to this topic because I want to
and
finish
finish
this
eating.
meal, and then yeah, but you can continue on, Mike. It's
Yeah, yeah. No,
but I'll come
actually,
back to that.
yeah. Are you gonna still listen right now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Because I'm gonna touch on what you just talked about, and yeah, hopefully when you're back, you have some feedback. Like before, I think anyone else came into the chat to the podcast today, I was talking about like the emotional high of King Cardin and how
Mm.
coming back from that weekend is for me, and I know from a few other people too who talked to me about like the withdrawal after King Cardin. It's pretty depressing the following week. And
Mm.
I was gonna ask also too, like from a weekend like that too, if your mind was opened, in new dimensions or new realms of thinking, and how you bounce back from that. Once I guess once the trip, not like just the drug, like the physical trip
Mm-hmm.
of going to Kincardine or the wherever you guys went, but the mental trip of the drug. How do you deal with the withdrawal? You know, you don't have to answer right now.
Uh,
Finish eating,
okay.
if you want.
Okay.
Just think about it, so you maybe like
Mm-hmm.
form some structure to
I
your
got you.
answer. But I was saying how usually in the past years it's really dark. Like for me, especially if I do like an all inclusive 7 days. King Cardin is getting harder too because we extend the weekend too, and it's definitely something we yearn for all year. So the the withdrawal after also too, if it's a lot of drinking and then all of a sudden you stop the drinking. Last year was pretty rough. This year, I don't know. I didn't drink that much this year, and I kind of I was more responsible with the water in between. I definitely ate more, so like I think maybe just blood alcohol level was just a little bit more manageable. So the the withdrawal wasn't so bad chemically in the body. And I got lucky this year that Monday I got to spend an entire day with Warren and his buddies, and we went whitewater rafting, and that was a whole ordeal in Ottawa. And then Tuesday I got my kind of like sleep recovery, and then again more social stuff with Warren because it was a bachelor party thing. Yesterday we met up to watch that movie, um, F9. So it was kind of like a slow weaning off of that emotional high from the weekend of King Cardin and
So you went to see F9 with some family?
with family. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was in the King Cardin chat if anyone was down to like watch it yesterday. I don't know. I guess you missed it.
I did. Sorry.
That's all good.
Wait, so what happened in Ottawa? Or sorry, what happened with? Said something happened
Mm.
with
No, like I was
Warren or
driving
something?
back. I dropped Kyle off in Waterloo. In the past years, I would sleep at Kyle's, or even the year before that, I dropped maybe Dan off, or I went to drive to Dan's and I slept over at Dan's. And because it's like my birth month, right? Like my birthday's later this year. Usually we celebrate my birthday in Kincardine. Sorry, my birthday's later this month. And yeah, usually Kincardine falls around that time, so we would celebrate my birthday there. So coming back from Kincardine, single in previous 2 years ago, it was Dan. I ended up staying over at Dan's after Kincardine. Last year I stayed over at Kyle's, and but the previous years before that I had a relationship, so it's different, you know. I'm a different person when I'm in a relationship. Um, so like 3 years ago, me and my ex, we stayed an extra day. We went to Grand Bend. We like stayed at Airbnb. It was great. But yeah, 2 years ago, I ended up sleeping over Dan's, and I would just like I spent the day alone touring Hamilton. Like I just Googled Hamilton tourist attractions, and I just went around like a tourist on by myself. But it was fun. It was like I didn't want to go home yet. I didn't want to accept the reality of like I'm gonna go back home, and it's gonna be back to that living alone scenario of back to work and all that. I just kind of want to extend the experience. Last year I did it in Waterloo. I looked up Kitchener Waterloo tourist attractions and I spent the day going around. This year I drop off Kyle. I got to have a chat with a couple of his cousins um, that I hadn't seen in like 6-7 years, which was a great catch up there. I didn't even anticipate that they'd be there. And on my way home, I was driving home. I was almost home. It was like 12, just after midnight. And Warren sent me a message. Hey, what are you up to tomorrow? And I know Warren's here for the week because of his best friend's bachelor. And so in my head, I'm like, oh, maybe Warren wants to play tennis tomorrow. And he's like, you want to go to Ottawa? And I'm like, oh, what? It's like whitewater rafting. We're missing someone. Like someone can't make it. Do you want to go? And yeah, I think I spent maybe like 10 seconds. I was like, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. So that was still a huge 100% full throttle emotional high to add to Kincardine. And then the next day, I finally got to sleep in, recover a little bit, more social stuff. And then yesterday, sleep in some more, got some work done at home, more social stuff with the movie night. Like we, met up at Krista's and had sushi, watched the movie, had cheesecake. It was great. And now Thursday, I spent the whole day at home, and it wasn't bad. Like I was just like, I was thankful that man, I get to rest, I get more work done. I was a little worried about today's podcast. Like, what am I gonna talk about? What you know, our and I can feel it too from everyone else's energy. I think I'm a pretty good read of other people's energy. Like I'm not necessarily a natural empath, but I've been working on empathy to read from other people. And I think there's still fatigue from a lot of people to want to participate in the podcast. We hadn't had a podcast. We didn't have one last week. So it's been 2 weeks ago since our last podcast, and even the engagement then wasn't great. Um, but I did want I wanted to come back to this podcast, kind of pick it up again. So close to being affiliate. I need a third viewer. Deji, if you have a laptop, open up the Twitch and watch it. Just mute it.
Oh shit! I'll do that.
Thank you.
Almost done eating.
All good, man. All good. Ren, you still there too? I think you are. It still says review in there. Yeah, and Paul's back too for the weekend. He's busy, but it's cool. It's almost like, I don't know. The gods or like fate or people are kind of bringing everyone, close. Ren, how are you doing over there, man? Oh, you got a haircut? Nice. I always assumed that you could cut your own hair, or you would cut your own hair, but nice. Guess yeah, things are definitely open there. Salons and barbershops just kind of recently opened again in the last couple of weeks, so they've been really busy and overbooked, which is great. You know, they definitely need to bounce back, you know, economically. But, and I talked to other photographers about this too. Oh, you used to cut your hair, dude. Order some clippers, man. Save some money. But yeah, I heard about it too from your time is worth more. What do you mean? It's the same amount of time. If anything, it's less time if you do it yourself, isn't it? Or is it you just take too long when you do it yourself? Like, nah, my per hour is higher. Got you. Yeah. 2 hours? Yo, you need to watch my 5-minute fade video on YouTube, man. I mean, it takes me, you know, obviously I still gotta like clean up and all that stuff, but you're a perfectionist. Oh, okay. Yeah, my fades aren't perfect. They're passable. What was I saying? But yeah, on the subject of stylists and barbers and also photographers, all these people who've been held back by COVID because we couldn't work, now things are opening up, and now like work's coming back with a vengeance. Like these stylists, these barbers, they haven't really had the same level of practice all throughout the year, and now they've got like bookings and bookings, and they're like their wait list is full, and now they're expected to perform at their best right off the gate. And I'm talking to other photographers too, and I thought maybe this was just me, but it's a common thing where all these people are going to have a lot of gigs coming, same level of expectation from the client, have to produce the same level of work, obviously, but we're out of practice. Like I haven't picked. Luckily I have already. I've started to shoot, but even before those gigs, you know, like getting familiar with all the button placements, and you know, reading the light and reading the right color and remembering what setting to be in what certain environment or situation. And it's all like time critical. You can't waste time. I remember one of my cameras, I didn't realize I had to switch one of my cameras from like high speed sync on the shutter speed, and I had to adjust the shutter speed, and I didn't realize I was on one end of the spectrum in the dial, and I couldn't figure out why I couldn't change the speed more than what I was used to. Basically, I just went too far on the dial, and I didn't know that I could go all the way back, and it frustrated me, and I didn't know how to fix it at that time. I thought I had to Google it. I was trying to figure out how to fix it. Turned out all I had to do was just rotate it the opposite direction much more, and then it would have been fixed. You know, like things like that, like shouldn't happen. You know, luckily I had two cameras, so I just used the other camera while I was frustrated with the one. But yeah, I have big gigs coming up. You know, not just. Luckily that was a 6-hour wedding. I managed to do everything on my own, but I've got 8, 12, maybe even more hours. I have those gigs coming up, and it's a little I'm a little anxious. There's definitely anxiety there to come back, and you know, we gotta work. Out of practice, gotta work. It's tough. How you doing over there, though, Ren? You know, you were the one who posted it. Do you know that this week's topic is your post? You did, right? You saw it. We have to normalize meeting up with your friends weekly to check on mental health, work, business, and what was the last thing? Reality of life. And that's what I wanted to touch on more. It's good. Deji's going to be back talking about the whole gods and men reality of life. That's why we were talking about acid and shrooms and you know? That's one thing actually when I was on acid that I kept questioning was like, is everything real? Everything that I was experiencing throughout that whole trip, I didn't feel like it was lit, like it was actually happening. I thought I was just dreaming it. I questioned my existence the entire time. Like, am I really here? Apparently DMT it's different. It takes that further, where it's like it welcomes this new dimension of like thinking. I guess because it's supposed to like set off more brain function, which you're definitely not used to. So is that actually, is what you experience actually like a dimension that maybe a normal person can't observe but actually is there? Or is it hallucination? Is it all just made up imagination? I tend to think it's the hallucination imagination side, but maybe because my third eye is not open yet, Man, we should totally do a podcast like on a trip, like while on a trip. That'd be interesting. I think Day's. Well, Day was gonna try to come. I don't think Mike can come anymore. Kyle's probably out for the night. I guess what I can do for the time being, guys, is I could do this. Oops. Let's talk about our excursion. There we go. Do this. Sample. There. Rafting. Whitewater rafting. This was really cool. This is me over here. That's Warren. This is the groom-to-be. Just in like one more week, he's gonna get married, gonna get hitched. This is another of his groomsmen and his DJ, I think. Actually, his DJ. And his DJ's brother. And that guy back there is Danny O. And he made the experience for us. It's the perfect match for our raft. Check it out. We're apparently surfing this this rapid at the time. Like we're riding this rapid. It's moving under us, but we're staying in the same spot. It's pretty cool. So that's when War stood up. I wish I stood up too. That would have been cool. Immediately followed by our our guide spinning out and purposefully tipping the raft. This was our first tip, so I didn't know what to expect. I was kind of panicky. I was a little scared, not gonna lie. You can see they all kind of fell out first, but I hung on for dear life. Still in it while everyone's already off. Still in it. Still in that raft. And then finally, we're in the water. And I have contacts on. I have contacts on, so I don't actually I can't open my eyes in the water. I'll lose my contacts. You see me squinting a lot just because I don't want to get water in my eyes. Here's another one where we're approaching this rapid head on. And you don't really notice this yet from the angle, but you'll see we'll go under it. And we're going to scoop into it. Where we disappear. And now all the water's, scooped up into our raft. Right on us. It was dope. Such a cool, wholesome experience. And it's tiring. Like you're paddling really hard to fight the rapid too. It's dope. Let's see. My Asian squint there. It's like, don't want to lose my contacts. Then I think Is there more when he flips us again? Oh. Oh, he's back.
You're. One sec.
Alright. Here we are again. We have to go in the middle, and then he flips us over. And I think I'm crushing Ray here. Actually, let me check who I'm crushing here. Who's that next to me? That is Ray next to me. And crush Ray. Sorry, Ray. Not bad.
Oh shit. Alright, let's get set up here.
Alright, let's bring this back. What? What's happening? Oh, nice. You're coming in. Hey, coming in hot.
What's up, man?
What's up? Yo, is that like is that a gi? Or is that a jacket? What? Are you wearing like a gi?
Oh, this is a kimono.
Kimono? What, bro?
Yeah, man.
Are you like kinjas now? Is that why?
I've always been into Japanese culture, so I had to cop one, bro.
Have you been to Japan yet?
I have not, but it's on my to-do list. Next 3 years.
Nice.
Yeah, man. I was just watching a video on like Japanese culture today, like how they just commoditized everything. Like I didn't know you could literally like rent someone to cuddle with.
Yes.
I was like, what?
I saw that on YouTube maybe a year or two ago.
I was like, that's kind of weird, but it actually makes a lot of sense. Like people are lonely, man.
Yeah, and they don't want more than that. Some people don't even, you know, like obviously there's the whole industry where they can cater to more than that, but yeah. Just on your lunch break, you know, you're on your lunch break from work and you're like, I just need some cuddles right now, man. I had a tough meeting in the morning.
Gotcha. Yo, do you ever post this link in the kindergarten group chat?
No.
Oh, is that like too like? You should. You don't think people tune in?
Well, Neela actually, that was a cool thing when she brought it up. Like, yo, next podcast, let's talk about dating. Like, I'm totally in. I'm like, oh shit, she knows about the podcast. I'm like, all right. I don't know. I just felt, I don't know. I don't want to like put it in people's face and put them the pressure to have to like support. I don't want them to feel pressure like they need to support, you know?
That's understandable, but if you haven't done it like at all, then you still have like the leeway to be like, hey guys, I got this podcast, yo, check it out. Like no one wants to be the person that's like, hey guys, tune into the podcast this week. Hey guys, tune into the podcast this week. Hey guys, tune into the podcast this week. Like you can still tell your friends about it, but just don't like beat them over the head with it, you know?
All right, you know what? Fine. If anyone wants to join me and Deji right now.
Yeah, man, you'd be surprised.
Fair.
Which I guess brings me to talk about your point about post kindergarten trip, like the withdrawal symptoms.
Yeah, man.
It's an interesting perspective. I mean, I feel like for me personally, anytime I go on a trip with a lot of people, I'm always like eager to get back home. Like be by myself. Not that I'm not a social person, but I feel like.
Are you an introvert?
I would say so.
Yeah.
What's the halfway of that? An ambivert. I used to think I was an ambivert, but I think I'm just an introvert with like social, like a lot of good social skills.
Yeah. Same.
But yeah, I mean, I always like. Okay, so going back to the mushroom trip, we spent 4 days out there, right? And like when I go on trips like that, I make sure to like do all I can so that like I can't wait to get back home. You know, like I get what you mean about being at home and feeling depressed because you're like away from everyone, and you just had this really exhilarating experience, and it was like really good social times and good emotionally and mental health, and then like getting back to that isolation. Mm-hmm. It's like it's a very stark contrast. So I guess like to combat that, I just try to make sure I go like balls out, and that's more of a recent thing. That's why I was in the water on the weekend. I was like, yo, I never go in the water. I'm fucking doing it.
Really? That's true.
Yeah.
Actually, wait, did you not jump off the pier in the past?
Nope. Nope.
Like, you never even, I mean, I guess in the past, you said you never go in the water. You've never even touched that water before? Like, you, really?
I like put my toes in it, but I've
Yeah.
never gone it.
So what brought you to do that this time?
Peer pressure.
Yeah.
Peer pressure and just being like, yo, I'm getting old. Let me just get in this water. Like, how many years am I gonna come here and not be?
It's probably FOMO, right?
Yeah, trying to step outside my comfort zone, which I think is important to do also, like,
Yeah.
especially now, because, like, you get to a certain age, you're just locked in the same routine over and over and over again, and it gets really depressing, and you feel like, oh my god, this is all that life is. This is all that life is. So just, like, trying to intentionally step outside of my comfort zone is something I'm working on right now, you know? And I actually really appreciate the fact that you. I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I appreciate the fact that you, like, consistently do this podcast every Thursday. I mean, at least that's your attempt. Because, like, how long have you been doing it?
This is our 30th episode, so we've missed 2 weeks because of scheduling. I think so. This, it's been from when we started 32 weeks ago, I guess.
Okay. Now, whose original idea was it?
I'd say this is Warren's idea because
Really?
in the last year we were doing Zoom, but we had Discord, so we meet up normally on Discord, but Warren, it was during the winter, so he didn't have a lot of tennis, he didn't have a lot of activities, so we would get together and we have intelligent conversations sometimes. Sometimes we have deep, nice, contrasting opinions, and we have, like, some teachables coming out of it, and they're like, why don't we just start a podcast and just record these conversations? I because of the whole YouTube, Twitch thing that I've established, I wanted it to be more of a professional setup. So I don't know if you ever watched some of the earlier ones, but we were trying to, like, work out the kinks of, like, how are we gonna keep this kind of inviting and open. We had one podcast where there were 11 people on it. It was like we couldn't manage it. It was too many, like, timing and, like, making sure enough people had time to speak. I did a poor job of managing that one, so it was like we couldn't handle it. So that's why we kind of brought it down to, like, Brack, and it's more lately engagement's difficult because it's summer, everyone's busy, everyone's got things to do, so even if it ends up being me just talking about a topic here, hopefully people show up in the chat and they have some feedback. But I knew it was gonna be hard to bounce back. Yeah.
Brack, can I ask what that means?
So we played StarCraft.
Okay.
What brought us all together was gaming, and we were playing StarCraft, and for some reason we all chose the avatar of this black guy. And
you don't have to explain anymore. I get it.
Well, yeah. Then we play a game. Turns out that we were playing these people who were racist. And but then if we're all Asian though, and how does an Asian guy say the word?
Jesus Christ!
And it just stuck, man. It just stuck.
Wow.
Team Brack. It's been like that for like a decade, I'd say. So
I was downtown Toronto in 2014, I want to say, and I was dating this poet, and she had a really great sense of humor. And there's, like, I want to say, what's the fucking what's that one Toronto monument that has, like, the two little, like, semicircle things that everyone always gathers around, takes pictures?
City Hall.
Yes, City Hall.
Yeah.
So it was like City Hall, and, like, I think there was a bunch of Asian women there doing yoga or some shit, some sort of, like, Pilates or whatever. And he told me
Tai Chi.
Or Tai Chi, yeah. So she told me, like, I think one of them, like, was talking about, like, black people, and she was like, Brex.
Exactly.
So
Yo,
as
those
soon as
Brack guys.
you said that, I got it. Okay. So I've produced my own podcast in the past. It ran for like 13 episodes. I've produced produced and hosted a podcast for a hip hop publication, which actually got like a lot of reach and a lot of good numbers.
Nice.
So when people like just say, "Oh, I'm doing a podcast," and like I can tell they just think it's just a thing where you just show up and you just record yourself talking. It's podcasting is not easy. So the fact that you're on episode 32 is actually really impressive. Because like even when people aren't here and you just continue to just talk and host, like that's not easy. So I had to commend you for that, man.
Yeah, thanks,
Because
dude.
I'm yeah, because I'm also like working on another one for the near future, and I'm trying to like put the format together. So it was interesting you mentioned like in the beginning with you and Warren, you guys had to work out the kinks because that is what happens. A lot of people hosting is too much. I'll just tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I wanted to be more intentional about like playing an active part in this. I
Yo,
think it's
I'm
really
really thankful that you have, man. Like, there've been a few episodes too where engagement was a little low, but it really does help to just get another perspective, another opinion in here. Like
yeah.
as I said, man, like it was really just we knew we would have nice, meaningful conversations, and we wanted to be able to look back at some of them and like at least remember when we had some teachables there. Like, so it's really the first several were like logs of some really cool conversations among us during winter of COVID. And then, you know, weather started warming up. We started to try and make it a little bit more manageable. Schedules are becoming a thing, and I think I think that initial kind of um, intrigue, the initial intrigue has faded from a number of people, which is totally understandable. I still like the premise behind why we built it, so as much as I can, I'm gonna try to keep it going. Even if it's not, it's definitely not like the kind of engagement. I'm putting it all on my YouTube channel, but it's not like it's bringing me a lot of views or ad revenue or
Not yet.
anything like that, right? Well, not yet. Yeah, I guess it's I think it's really cool. Like Neela reaching out this past weekend and talking about like being very open to have that conversation. And Dede's been telling me too that you don't have to just save it for Thursdays for Brack. Like, just get other guests whenever they're free and they want to talk. You should just do it. Just talk about whatever kind of subject. And obviously, I have to be on. Like, there's energy involved that it is draining for me to run. Like, in the actual podcast, it might just seem like we're talking whatever. But I think the guys know how I am normally and how I am on the podcast. And there's a little bit of that like that switch needs to be on for me to make sure we're kind of moving forward or level of professionalism and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Like you in the beginning it's always easy for like the first like couple. And then when it gets to like that mid hump, that's when you really see like who's like really trying to pod. And with anything, the podcast we had for the publication was called Hot Freestyle, and it ran for maybe like 6 months,
Yeah.
and that was 2015. So like, I still talk with the old co-producer, and he tells me like, man, if you guys had kept that podcast going, like, you'd be like so far ahead now. And I think the things you mentioned about like, your sometimes engagement is low, like that's normal. That's gonna happen. Like obviously there's gonna be some days no one's here, right?
Oh
But
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that consistency and that steady growth, just give it a couple of years, man. You'll be surprised.
I think
Yep.
what the challenge is now is the subject, like the weekly
Mhm.
subject. Trying to come up with something that, one, we haven't touched so much on recently. We definitely, I do think there are subjects you can revisit because things evolve, or there's some things you really can't just take one night to talk about. But just trying to find maybe even a theme or some kind of path to follow where it's cohesive. Because right now it's every week is kind of just a random whim. Oh, what do you guys want to talk about this week? What do you guys want to talk about this week?
But I
I
mean, you're doing a pretty good, like a really good job so far, and that will come. Like you'll figure out a way to, or I guess I'll say we will figure out a way to like.
Yeah. Oh, your audio cut out. Still out. You'll see when your green frame comes back.
Got me? Okay.
There you go. There you go.
What was I saying just now? Yeah, like when your audience grows to a certain point, then you can start doing things like.
Oh, dude, sorry, you cut out again. Oh, there, I hear you. Oh,
Oh, hello.
it's sort of like some stuff I hear, and then other times it mutes you. Maybe depending on your distance.
Is that better?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying, like, when your audience grows to a certain point, then you can start like asking them, hey, so yeah, but
I think when you
it only has.
talk while looking away, it picks you up as noise. So anything you say after that doesn't pick it
Uh,
up.
I'm just gonna switch my mic. Just give me. Yeah. Because I was like,
I,
oh, I have a good microphone here. Let me use it.
I think what happened with this podcast too, like again, it was kind of war, then me and war, but then because I was putting it on my YouTube channel and it's on my Twitch, I think the guys have started adopting that it's my podcast, but I don't think it's my podcast. I'm just the one broadcasting it. I do still think it's our podcast. Um, who knows? Who knows what it'll become?
Yeah, no, that's a good. I mean, I guess I thought well, but now that you just broke down like the origin story,
Yeah,
have a better idea.
like it
Yeah,
really
man.
like
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, Ren posted something on his story today or yesterday about like um, normalize meeting up with your friends weekly to talk about this kind of stuff or any like mental health checks. And really, this cast was really a weekly thing of just checking up on everybody. It was just an opportunity to make sure that every week the guys would come together and have a conversation. And I see the wholeness in that too, like the wholesomeness in that too. Um, but it's hard to do every week if you think, I don't know, man. Weekly seems like a quite a commitment. It's kind of a burden too for me too to like every Thursday night I imagine, all right, 10:30 I better be like up and ready and like get this like technical stuff set up. And it, there is some stress there, there's some like um and I don't think anyone really had that in mind to become like an obligated commitment, and I don't want it to feel that way. But it is starting to feel that way. Not even starting. It's been feeling that way for a long time.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Test, test, test. Hold on.
I think it could be your headset that's picking up.
Test, test, test.
Yes, but it's very quiet.
Turn that up a bit. How's that?
You need to turn it up like 200%.
Oh shit. How about now?
50 more percent.
How about now?
That's good.
Let's
Ren,
get
you
right
got
here.
an idea? Oh, Ren's got an idea. I'd say you can go down maybe 15%.
Test, test, test. Is that good?
Okay, maybe up 10%.
This mic is supposed to be excellent.
How about we
How
say
about
meet 30 minutes early to do? Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
good? Okay. Here we go.
So Ren's saying meet 30 minutes early to small talk. Yo, man, that's a great idea, but the problem is, like, people aren't available till like 11 p.m. Okay, so Day 3 hours ahead, later, or what is it? He's 3 hours behind. So if we go earlier, he's gonna miss that for sure. If we go later, it gets too late for people who need to go to bed for work here. So that's the tough part. Checklist for people to set up and host themselves. Hey, that's a great idea, Ren, but I don't want to force it on anyone too. I think we can offer that, and people can decide, I guess, what they're willing to take on. Yeah.
Or we could do like, since it's the Brack channel, have it be a channel. It doesn't have to be
Sorry, dude.
Thursday, and then we just have like time slots. You hear me?
I do, but like there are some
Maybe I
key
should
things in your sentence where I don't hear it, and it's like I don't know what you said.
maybe I should just switch to this one.
There's definitely like some sort of like
How about
noise
now?
cancellation.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's all
Is
a
this
matter
better?
of as long as it picks up at the right time, right? But that sounds good. That sounds good.
That's good? Okay. I'm just gonna get rid of this shit.
But it was nice though. It's like that's Esquire
Clean?
right there, bro.
Was this mic cleaner? Could you tell it was cleaner?
Yes. It had better bass and it had like better isolation from like background sound when you spoke. But I do think I don't know, it could be Discord that it's just it can't tell whether it's noise or you if you're too far. Like you'd have to be like a mic like that, you have to be like this the whole time, right? So you got if you back up like this, then you're now I can't hear you at all. Checklist might make it easier for you too. No, I know, man. No, Ren, for sure. Even if we had like a schedule where we could agree maybe a month in advance who's gonna take on this week or whatever, I'm cool with that. I just don't want people to feel obligated to do that. It wasn't ever supposed to feel like a burden at all, and I felt okay to take on the burden.
Oh God.
But you know, if other people are willing to do it, sure. But I don't want to ask anybody to do it. You know.
Maybe I should just move this.
Here we go. I'm gonna do microphone check 1 2.
I'm just gonna move this.
But yo, Ren, let me know when you want to host. Obviously, I'll still set it up. I can still set up the call, broadcast it on Twitch. Sorry, Deji, you were saying like Brack.
Yes, I was saying since it's the Brack channel, it doesn't have to necessarily be at a certain time slot. It could just be it could just be the whole day, and then you guys just come in at different times, right?
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, I get it for sure that sentiment. But I think the objective was to get all of us here, or at least most of us in here, at the same time.
Yeah.
For more of a exchange, a discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But I guess I'm thinking like you could have like the one like official group, you know, like the major Brack group chat, but then like the channel is just open throughout the day is more so I guess what I was thinking. I mean, which it kind of is, but like
it totally is. Everyone's can like Day can take it, but Day, you know, it was cool. Day started his own channel, and I get why that makes more sense, you know, and because it's very much stock oriented, like about stocks and trading and stuff.
True.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really depends. If I'm pretty sure too, like with War's kind of reach in Lloydminster, he could totally run his own over there too. Talk about tennis or something, you know. You could totally, if you want, talk about I don't know, music, production.
Yeah, I actually started a a channel as well. I'm trying to put all my boys on Discord. So we're trying to do like a thing where we stream our like music production sessions. So yeah, man.
Sick. Yeah.
Yeah. We actually had a jam session last trial it. We just like well we didn't well I recorded footage but we didn't stream anything, but we are just practicing to like set that up, be it like a reoccurring thing.
So
So
you would all share the same Twitch stream?
mm-hmm.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah. Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
proposed I proposed it too for our games night because usually, well, height of COVID, a bunch of us would get around virtually and play like code names online, and there would just be like funny ass banter. So I was like, yo, we should stream this.
Yeah.
So I attempted to do that on Friday, but I was having some trouble like connecting my Twitch channel to Discord. So I don't know what was up with that, but yeah, that's it's in the works still.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ren,
In-
to get back at what you said there. Also, your qualm is you don't fully agree with the Brack name. I mean, I know what you're saying. It's like you were
Brex.
it was created quite a while ago in a different kind of it was a different mindset at the time. And you know, it was just kind of adopted because more and more people got inducted into this crew, I guess you would call it. It doesn't really mean anything. It's just what it stemmed from. It doesn't stand for really any, like when Dej asked like what does it stand for? It doesn't actually stand for that. It's just how it originated, but it doesn't stand for anything really. It's just it's
The
just a common.
Brex.
I wouldn't say we're Brack people. Like, but yet technically we are. We're Team Brack. But Ren, if would it help? So, given that, if that was addressed and the name was changed, what would how would your involvement, you know, change with that? Like, how what would that introduce for you if the name was different?
Hey, you guys want to see some pussy?
What? Yo, he's a G. I wouldn't mind hosting. Oh, you just don't want to host a show that's called BrackCast.
With my brat cat?
I mean, you could just change the definition too. It's about
It could just
banter
mean big racks.
on racks. Yeah. Big racks,
Big
banter
racks.
racks. Boy, you know, I don't know. Could just mean anything, I guess.
Okay, so when we went on mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
I had this heavy like stream of consciousness, and how did it stem? It stemmed from like, because we're working on music, right? And do you know about the Tower of Babel?
Okay, you did mention this. Yeah. Languages, right?
Right. So it was like, okay, human beings are like the only thing holding us back is unadulterated communication, like being able to communicate in such a way that we fully understand each other like completely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when we hit that point where there's no bias or like judgment between our communication, is strictly information passing from one person to another and it being used efficiently. That's when we're gonna like reach our next echelon of like human evolution, right? So in the Bible, it talks about like the Tower of Babel and how like human beings at one point all spoke the same language. And because they were able to work together so well, they built this tower that touched the heavens, right? And so like a god or the creator or whoever was like, oh, these guys are becoming too strong. I gotta like, confuse them. So that's when he gave everyone like different languages and they were no longer able to communicate and everyone was like all confused. So during the trip, I was like, man, like language is actually such a primitive way to communicate, because at the end of the day it's us just like clicking our tongues and like smacking our lips with different sounds. You know, that's what different languages are. But with music, it's just different frequencies of vibrations, right? And some of them are completely inaudible to the human ear. So
Yeah.
we're even just like tapping a section of like the noises that are out there. So I was like, man, what if like the gods or whatever, like that's how they communicate through like frequencies of sound.
Yeah.
And like this is just like us smacking our lips is just like such a primitive way of us like communicating, right? And that now warped into like, okay, so if music or sound vibration is how the gods like communicate, like what else is like out there that is a naturally occurring like cosmic phenomenon? That's when we got into time and light and noise and all this like, and love. That was another thing. And then that's when we got into, okay, so if you're a creator, a supreme being, a god or whatever, and you create man, I'm basing this off mostly like Christian ideology.
Hmm.
If you're a creator and you create man, okay, so you have actually the authority to tell us to do whatever, like do whatever you want, right? Because you made us, right? Would you
Hmm.
agree? Okay, so if you break that down to a human level, when a man, you would say a man has authority over his home, right? Because he actually, if we're taking this back to like Stone Age or traditional age or whatever, he would actually take the materials around him, the wood or whatever in the forest, and build his house like with his bare hands. So once he built that home, he created it. He basically has authority over like anything that happens in there, right?
Okay.
So we now got into like why it's okay for like a man to have, not even like a man, like a woman or whatever, like not even gender specific, a man or woman to have like dominion over earthly things, but not each other. Like we can't like manipulate each other, right?
Okay.
So that's where I got into like why that's actually not okay, because we don't have like the right to. I mean, on a basic like human societal moral level, like people say no, you shouldn't manipulate people, but like on a like I guess not ethical, but like on a I guess cosmic level, we actually aren't allowed to do that because we don't have that right, you know. So yeah, that was like a crazy stream of consciousness I was on when I was on mushrooms, and then like yeah, I just passed.
Okay. Well, having reached that, and then you can't, obviously the trip subsides and you come back to quote unquote reality.
Mm-hmm.
How, you know, do you try and make sense of where your mind went when you were on that trip? Like, have you adopted that now and sort of like a, has it guided you in a different direction since?
It's definitely given me, I guess what I would say is I've always been a believer in the fact that you can't manipulate people,
Mhm.
and you know, just for like ethical reasons, right? But that gave me like an empirical reason not to do it, if that makes sense. That was like the cosmic science behind why it's not okay to manipulate people. So it just kind of like reinforced certain beliefs for me, like with that specifically, like that point specifically. But then with regard to the language stuff and like that's how gods communicate, like that's open for interpretation. I'm not like considering that like anything legit. But with regard to the communication aspect, like yo, um this is why human beings can't reach our next level of evolution, is because we still lack this like barrier of our own bias and ego that's
Mm.
preventing us from really being able to communicate like 100%. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So, yeah, man.
What's
Oh,
up,
hello,
Ren?
Ren.
Nice. You came in at the perfect time. Because, do you mind if I ask you more in depth about that that whole thing?
Mm-hmm.
So first, you touched on the Tower of Babel, right? And the story
Okay.
that at, at one point all humans had one language, and they were reaching a point where they worked so efficiently that they were coming close to the God, to God.
Mm-hmm.
Is this in like Old Testament? Like that's a
Mm-hmm.
okay, but so this is after though Adam and Eve bit the apple and became aware. So, but
Yes.
for some reason, I guess, yeah, if it's all started from Adam and Eve and they're just having kids and more people like that, they're all gonna speak the same language. And then God felt threatened. Well, okay. Obviously, I'm not interpreting the story because we know it's a story. It's obviously not meant to be taken literally. But also, some do. Yes, you're right.
Huh?
So for those who do, and
I guess I kind of do. I don't know.
Okay. Even if you do, can you walk me through, like, why would one language, lead to building of a structure? It might not even be an actual tower. Let's just say it was something. To the point where God would feel threatened to be like, we need to put them back down in their place. And so he split up our languages.
So what's your question specifically?
Well, it stems from your idea that what limits us being able as a species to hit our not even fullest potential, but at least to reach that next level of potential is language. And it. Okay, go ahead.
No, sorry, no, continue. Finish your thought.
Because and you're right. I do think music is universal, where you can convey a very, in my opinion, again, just this basic opinion, you can convey simple emotions with music. Information with music is something else. And I do think what we've taken with language, yeah, we all, the earth was split, all these cultures developed separately, and that's why we have all these different languages. But we need, as a species, I don't necessarily think we need to adopt one language all around the world. I think it would be more efficient if we did. But for now, the internet is really the thing that really brought everyone together, and now we have translation, which is huge. And now we are able to convey information in every aspect of the world, as long as you can read. Or I guess, audibly too. If you just learn any language and it's in Google's translation list, we can now communicate with everyone in the world. I think it's just translation's just going to become easier to the point where everyone's going to have like this piece maybe like injected in them, and no matter what language you speak, it will be heard in the language you understand. You know what I mean? I do think that's going to happen eventually at some point where it doesn't matter what you speak, everyone's going to be able to understand each other. That's just what I think. I don't necessarily think it's language that holds us back. I think we can figure out a way to break that barrier down. Yeah.
You touched on a couple good points, which I will actually like connect with what I'm talking about. So the language thing is more of like the big pebble pond, but there's still like other elements that like come into play as to why we can't have 100% understanding, right? So like things like I mentioned, like our ego and our biases as well, like those also play. Like you can be speaking the same language as somebody, but like just because you have certain like biases, you still won't be getting that information. Like you won't be objectively receiving it.
Got you. Okay,
Yeah, so language is part of that, but like there is also like all of those other like little tangible elements, right? And I guess like back in like the Tower of Babel times, yeah, language was like the primary factor I was like alluding toward. But I guess also in that time, it would have been a really homogeneous society. Like there would have been minimal differences, I feel like. I mean,
yeah.
to respond to your point.
Right.
But that also the appliance thing you were talking about that would allow us to just like communicate, regardless of what language you're speaking. When Elon was talking about the Neuralink and how, at some point it's going to get to the point where like we won't even need to talk to communicate.
Right.
Like that's actually more so what I'm alluding to. Like our communication will be so streamlined, there will be no data that goes missing, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so once we get to that, like, I think like something we're gonna have to interface with something neurally in our brain to do it. We'll have to interface with some sort of technology. But yeah, once we get to that, that's when it's gonna get crazy, you know? So yeah, that is what I mean too, which is you're right.
Mm. Ren, you look good, man.
Yo, I was about to say this guy looks fresh as shit.
Fresh. Yeah,
I
for
just
sure.
got a haircut. So.
This guy came onto the camera like this. I'm here, fellas.
Okay.
You gotta make sure you get to see that
But,
side fade, yeah.
So I don't know, to add on to Deji's point though. So I haven't read, like I listened to a lot of audiobooks. One of them that I found really cool is called I think is On Memory, and it's by the guy who started the Palm Pilot. You guys remember that old
Yeah.
PDA thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
He studied, what is it, neuroscience and artificial intelligence, like things I'm interested in as well. And I can see, I think we with Neuralink will definitely get closer to understanding the breadth of what somebody knows, but you can never fully know it unless you completely copy the arrangement of their neurons to your neurons,
Right.
which is impossible.
Does
So
that-
I think there's always going to be,
Sorry, would you say like that arrangement of neurons would also include, like the emotional attachment to it, and like the bias and all of that? Is that what you're saying too? That's part of it?
yeah, like it manifests itself in our biases. Like our
Yeah.
biases are a result of our experiences that form the neural pathways that we have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
So to
so
exchange that with
that's
somebody.
why everybody is unique.
Mm-hmm. Like, is
To exchange with somebody.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go on.
You can go ahead.
You go first.
Okay. No, no, I'm trying to, because yeah, Deji touched on it too, how it will be purely information, absent of bias, and I'm assuming it kind of means also absent of the emotional attachment to something, where it will create anything outside of neutrality. Like when you exchange information, like a definition or something, there is no bias needed, unless you're trying to convince or sell an opinion, right? If it's
What do you
purely
mean by that?
information, I don't necessarily think there's like bias tied to that. An opinion, there's bias tied to it, but information, I don't know. Does that make sense?
I'm curious to know what you mean by information versus opinion, because what do you mean by that? I'm
I
kind of
guess
lost.
information could simply be an observation of something that happened. So this ball bounced twice, versus an opinion was, I don't know, that ball bounced twice because the earth was round. I don't know. See, like having
Yeah.
one's informative, one is strictly like an occurrence of something factual. The other requires like a reasoning of some sort of a belief behind it.
Yeah.
I hear what you mean.
I think what you're I think it's difficult because any information can be opinionated. The only thing that is generally accepted as true is something that can be scientifically tested and replicated in an experiment
Yeah.
by multiple people.
Yeah.
This is actually why I wanted to go through that. I was thinking about going through that course, that science course that I linked you guys. because like this is the basis of all our knowledge, and our culture is built on this idea of scientifically proven things. It's hard, and even that, it's like things. It's very difficult to convey information or an opinion without speaking about the context, and the context is usually, it could be near infinite. Like this is why it's hard to communicate. This is why I don't think we'd ever reach like complete understanding of each other. Is because there's a whole lot of context that we don't understand, that we unconsciously know as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I do think it will be a leaps and bounds with Neuralink, but I am scared of the technology opening up a Pandora's box as well, with people like just hacking into you, you know?
That is scary. Can you repeat that last point you just made?
Which one?
Okay, you said like
part?
the context, like
Yes.
because there's so much context behind every like point, and context is kind of like infinite. We wouldn't get to 100% understanding. Can you just repeat that point again?
Yep. Like the only reason we can understand each other is because we have a vague understanding of what each of the words that we use means. And the only reason we have an understanding of what those are from the near infinite experiences that we have to develop the context around what the word apple is, right? Apple, you think of tree, you think of plants, you think of food, all these near infinite things that are all connected, but you can't just say it. You can't say all of them at once. You have to condense it down to one word. But since we all have a same general definition, this is why like people that speak different languages, like they might have the same context, but they condensed it down into a different word, if that makes sense. And like especially abstract concepts, sometimes you can't condense it down to a single word and encompass all of those things that it means. This is very like abstract, very weird.
I think going back to the language thing, at some point we won't need to use words. Cause how do machines communicate?
Ones and zeros.
Yeah, I think like there will be some level of like binary element that goes into that, and like I'm thinking more so like data exchange when I think of like what Neuralink is gonna introduce. Like I think like things like context and you know, things like context will take on a whole different, they might even become like irrelevant because we're receiving pure information.
I think the huge misconception is that the one thing that book here, if I can find the book, I'll send it to you guys. The one thing that book told me about was neuroscience. Like the way our brain works is fundamentally different from how computers work.
Yeah.
Like I was really intrigued in computers. This is why I became a software developer. Like I wanted to learn these things, like what the fuck is the internet? I thought it was all satellites, like bouncing shit. It's not satellites. It's like wires under the sea, and I'm like, holy shit. And I continue to how does the brain work? And like the brain is actually a gigantic web of connections, right? Like you think of neurons and they're all just
Axons,
like think of a very dense spider's web, essentially. Everything in the computer is literally ones and zeros. It's everything can be translated into one dimension, whereas our brain is like in infinite dimensions.
Okay.
Well, I think in terms of like classical dimensions, it's only 3 dimensions. Like it only exists in 3 dimensions, but computers only understand 1 dimension. This is why they only have ones and zeros. There's only on or off. That might actually be 0 dimensions, but it might be 1.
Well, one thing I'll say is,
and like,
go ahead. Sorry.
Yo,
I forgot what I was going to say.
before you make that point, what's the name of this? I just watched this video. There is a neuroscientist who was breaking down this machine to like a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, college student, college major, and then like someone in the. It's like they're actually about to map the neural network of like the human brain. So, because at the end of the day, like, okay, I get what you're saying. Like machines, it's like ones and zeros, and like our neural network is a lot more sophisticated, but I guess I just think of it as like neurons firing. It's like electrical signals firing at the end of the day.
It is on the neuron level. It's it's on and off, but because they operate in networks rather than lists of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or an array, which is a matrix. Because they operate on networks that exist in 3-dimensional space, we can't copy it one for one until we make computers that take advantage of 3-dimensional space rather than 1-dimensional or 2-dimensional.
Okay.
Oh, it's called unintelligence. Oh, I'll just totally go off.
Just
I
to
mean,
catch up
ultimately-
on chat. Sorry, just so Mike said lost in translation when you lose things in translation. He also said nice haircut, that fade on point. And Day Day is tuning in from himself is what's good. So welcome guys, thanks for coming in, tuning in. I wanted to say the difference between the brain and the computer. So in terms of communication in a computer, ones and zeros, and in terms of like straight on command and call and response type of thing between machines communicating, it's still subject to the boundaries that the designer put them on. It's like there's that boundary. When you have a human communicating, there is no boundary, and it's that I get the infinite context part where you're talking like everything that we've experienced in life up to that point of when we make that statement of whatever it is we're trying to communicate is based on the infinite number of things we've experienced individually. Therefore, to convey that to anybody else, to any other being, I can see why it is impossible to be 100% translatable unless it's replicated and then somewhat downloaded, or I don't know, like copied.
Does it have to be 100%? What if it's like 97?
It doesn't.
That falls on what you're actually trying to communicate, if it is necessary. But yeah.
Because I'm thinking like, what if all of those experiences? Because like, I mean, global warming is gonna fuck us all before we even get to this shit. But I'm thinking like, what if we could actually develop technology that literally is able to quantize all of those experiences and with everyone, That's some next level shit. But I mean, like, it would never be 100%. But if it's close enough,
I think we would do definitely better. I think.
Here's an idea, guys.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to break away from the subject right away if more people want to say things, but I have an idea and I wanted to push it out to you guys to see if you guys would adopt it or not. But you guys ready for it? Okay.
keep me in suspense, son.
It's sort of like Matrix, right? But in Matrix, it's looked upon as we are used as a power source for the machines, and therefore we're plugged into the Matrix and we live this artificial life. What if we develop a system that maximizes our physical longevity of life, but all that will allow us to do is live that longer period in this artificial world like the Matrix, where we can plug in. So like when we're plugged in, we're getting all the nutrients and everything we do so that our body is disease free. We get no mutations. We're like peak health but we are plugged in and we live a virtual life where we can hit infinite number of possibilities in this artificial world, which yet can still have impact on the actual world around us, where we could like help the planet and maybe even like colonize other planets and space and all that. Because
Cool,
obviously, yeah. What do you think? Would you be down for that?
I think as long as you have the choice to plug in and plug out, that's all that I think that matters.
The choice.
Um,
Yeah.
Okay. I think like, cause what separates us from all the other living things is like consciousness, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think on some level, that really wouldn't be any different from. I mean, obviously, like you mentioned, the peak health thing, but that really wouldn't be any different from what real life is.
Okay.
Because you often hear the term "you're not really a body, you're a soul in a body" type thing. It's like it all boils down to that consciousness thing. Like if we still have our individuality, but our world and our existence is this machine technology symbiotic relationship thing we have, and that's how everyone is, then I think it's like, all right, whatever. It's like peak health. Cool. So because like everything would still be, because I'm assuming it would be a virtual like existence, right?
It's just so, let's say, as you said, we are souls in a vessel. Like our body's just a vessel, and part of the struggle of surviving longer in this world is maintenance of this vessel. But if that is all handled like exterior by a system that we as a species built for each other, where we can now focus and meet all mental capacity on, on the breadth of what we could do as an intelligence. And maybe we plug into the earth is the system, and then the earth is now this giant kind of mechanical thing that we as a species can work and like interact
Superorganism.
with a superorganism that can interact with celestial bodies rather than just our micro as a species. You know what I mean?
That would be pretty dope. I mean, it would be pretty dope, but the because a lot of our existence now, right? Okay, you think about food, right? Food is necessary for our survival. Water is necessary for our survival. These things dictate a lot of our behavior. I would say, like, if you could boil it down to our percentage, it'd probably be like food and water dictate, like, oh, Ren says you can't hear the last 10 minutes.
Oh no, that was earlier.
Oh, whoops.
Thanks,
Okay. These things probably dictate about 75% of our like general activities, right? So I think
survival.
I think after that's eliminated, then we start to tap into like more of our creative side, and we start to, become more like explorative. We start to really get into technology and trying to explore space, because that would be the next thing. Like it's like we've fuck with the earth, let's go see what's out there. And yeah, like I guess because I'm trying to think of like a lot of our earthly resources go toward, I mean, how much goes toward food production? A lot of that would now be converted toward like cows and shit, like all like, yeah, like a lot of our, yeah, hold that thought, FJ. A lot of our infrastructure is like food production, so that would be converted to more innovative things. So yeah, go on.
So that one scene with Cypher in Matrix, where he's eating a steak and he says ignorance is bliss, right? So when you were touching on food, a lot of this infrastructure not is even just for sustainability of like health, but because of taste bias. Like we want meat because of taste, and we are resistant to more efficient and sustainable foods because we don't want to let go of the luxury of taste. So if you do this where you can still experience taste, because that's just a neuron thing in your brain, you can still experience taste in this artificial world, but you're getting the basic nutrients, not even just basic, everything you optimally need as a human species for your body to thrive and live long, you're getting, but you don't need to worry about that taste part. You know, you don't have to worry about the experience of eating. You could do that in artificial world, get all the taste that you need for the luxury part. But at least the resources in the world are efficiently used towards just our nutrition, actual nutrition, and not the experience, you know?
Yeah.
True.
Okay. Yeah. Valid point. Valid
I'll
point.
be down for that. I'll be down for that.
That'd be cool.
I mean, it
Yeah,
seems
as
a
long as
bit
you have a
morbid,
choice.
like it's like you're plugged into this machine, but at the end of the day, it's like what we will experience is not going to be. I mean, it'll be different because of the food and all that stuff's going to, you know, well, it'll just be strictly for nutrition, but like there will still be like conflict and stuff like that. Like we will still have our human, you know, weird shit.
Yeah. Because I think Ready Player One, and I really like the idea of Ready Player One.
That's a sick movie.
But yeah, it's the whole touching on the actual, like, why would there still be poverty? Why would there still be, well, because then you run the risk still of over procreation, like too many bodies, not enough, not enough slots to plug in. Maybe, I don't know. Who knows?
That's when they just
I
start
feel
taking
like
your brain.
it would be easier though. You can have, say, if all your senses are plugged in, you can still have sex and it feel fucking amazing. You know,
Yeah,
no babies.
every time. Doesn't matter how big you are.
Oh man, you guys want to get into you guys want to get into some other shit?
What?
Okay, so
Okay.
so oh, I think we may have touched on this topic already. Sex robots, sex dolls.
Oh, okay. Have we?
I was talking to my boy like a year ago because I heard like, have you seen Ex Machina?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fucking great movie.
So like, there was that one scene where what's that actor's name? Fucking something Isaac. Oscar Isaac was like
Oscar
talking to
Isaac.
the dude,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Yeah, man, she even has like she can have sex," and I was like, "Oh shit, this is gonna exist at some point."
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Pretty sure
like
it does already.
a lot of like masculine like energy is directed toward like procreation and like sex, right?
Yeah.
So I think once that actually becomes like a thing where you can literally get a robot, adjust the dimensions or whatever to your preferences, and it's actually like really lifelike, believable sex, it's gonna be a lot out here.
Sorry, a lot.
Wow, I
Something
heard
cut
every
out.
other word.
Yeah.
A lot of problems for these
Oh.
women out here, B. Because
Right.
like
Mike said people
I
would just
mean,
have simulated sex
it's happening on
24/7.
that
yes, because
Yeah.
you think about you hear a lot of women talking about, man, I feel like guys don't like women. I feel like guys just like pussy. And it's like, yeah, that's actually a very true thing. Because a lot of dudes just don't like they.
Yeah.
Oh, someone's calling.
They're not down for
A
the
lot of dudes
exchange.
just don't. Oh. Oh shit.
scale. That makes
Booty
a lot
call.
of sense though.
Oh, there we go.
It's like,
Yeah, a lot of dudes just a lot of
Irony.
dudes just like don't like women. They don't know how to like interact with women. They don't know how to like be kind and be like normal. Like, and they don't see women as like normal human beings. So
Yeah.
like, yeah, man, it's. I think about that like a lot. Like that's gonna be a weird time.
It's already happening in Japan apparently,
Oh yeah.
and like like sex bots are a thing,
Yeah.
and there's a growing class of women that don't get married, and guys as well. Also, random side note: I have a Japanese saw.
Oh shit.
Hey. Sick.
Pretty sweet.
So
Double-sided.
Making woodwork stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and Japan I think is noticing a lot of these issues actually right now, because I think the term usually is like they're a little more sexually repressed, like not able to express themselves, and then when they do, that it's usually like to the extremes of some people marrying sex dolls or like people doing those other things, and
Well, remember,
I think it's beginning.
remember Demolition Man?
I don't know what you're referring to in Demolition Man, but
Sandra Bullock and Stallone. She asks him, would he like to have sex? Do you remember that scene?
oh, it's like the virtual sex. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it was like flashes of things.
and what I'm trying to get to is like the fact that in the future I do see that sex would be completely recreationalized, and the procreation aspect of it won't even be part of it anymore, and like that would be something maybe could very well be just test tube lab babies, like just like we could, if genetic modification, you could choose like Gattaca, where you can choose what your kids are going to become or all the traits they're going to want to be. The sexual aspect of it will be completely separated from the procreation objective. And sex will be like Demolition Man or I don't know, Gattaca. I don't
Demolition Man.
Do you remember Demolition Man with
I just remember
Wesley Snipes and Sandra Bullock?
I just remember the Wesley Snipes hair. That was Demolition Man, right? Where he was blonde, But I remember Gattaca.
The scene with Demolition Man I was telling Ren was when Sandra Bullock asked Stallone if he wanted to have sex. And he's like, yes. And he thought it would be a physical exchange, but really they just put on helmets and something all of a sudden happened in their brains, right?
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I remember flashes of that scene. It was really weird.
Flash?
I didn't understand it at the time.
It was a lot of flashes then too. It's just like he's like closing his eyes, like what the fuck? You didn't know what was going on, and she's like all in it, but in his head. Anyway, my point was just that I do think where we're taking it, sex bots in Japan and Day saying, isn't it just a glorified version of watching porn? It could be. Like eventually you won't even need a bot. You would just again Neuralink. If it's Neuralink, dude, and it's tied to your nervous system, it's tied to touch and things like that, for sure you could have a full out experience digitally, and it would be completely recreationalized. It won't be about procreation anymore. It's exciting, man. I do like. It's inefficient, really, right now. The way we control the population control, I do think, for any species to survive in a very limited planet, needs to be a thing, and
you think so?
Giving free will in terms of just like contraception or abortion as a choice is, if you just look at it, it's inefficient. If you're thinking population control.
Can you define population control? Like what do you mean by population control?
Okay, well, if we let's just say continued to procreate at the same rate that we did, I don't know, 100 years ago.
Okay.
Thanos for the win, Deji says.
Shit.
So let's just say it was exponential. Just like every 25 years, everyone has a kid, right? Even if it's just that, like 25, and then you pair up, have a kid. 25, pair up, have a kid. Whatever, and you didn't control that. It was just mechanical at 25. Eventually, you would hit a population in the planet that won't be sustainable with the limited resources on the planet. Luckily, go ahead.
Do you think I guess not. I was gonna say, do you think the planet has like reusable resources?
Again,
I think there's a sustainability threshold.
I do think sustainability is possible, but there's to reach that level would take on a lot of adoption from everyone, of something very, very different. So it won't happen in like our generation, or maybe the next, 5-10 generations, because we're too resistant to change,
Yeah.
But if everyone did adopt like a plant-based diet and didn't care about, oh, I still want my meat, or if everyone adopted renewable solar, or like, just clean power, and didn't want like, I want to drive my gasoline car, like, we would just be far ahead, but we're resistant for change because of traditions.
Man,
Ideas, yeah.
there's what is it? What's that Joe Rogan? There's more tigers. Was it per capita or some shit in Texas than in the rest of the world or whatever? Or in the rest? Yeah, there's more tigers in Texas than in the rest of the world. Good luck telling them motherfuckers to change.
Wild.
Yeah, but Day, imagine,
Yeah.
but meat tastes so good. Imagine you plug into Neuralink, they give you a meal in front of you, and it's doesn't taste like anything. The meal in front of you actually doesn't taste like anything. But when you take the bite, Neuralink observes that you take that bite. It sends the neural thing that you just tasted, like medium rare Wagyu steak, and then you get the perfect nutrients that your body needs, perfect nutrition, and you get the taste too.
That sounds amazing.
You'd feel cheated. See, Day-Day's the resistant type. He's the one. What is going on?
What is that?
I think it.
He's
Oh,
sawing
sorry.
something.
I'm sawing. Yeah. I'm working on something. Sorry, do you guys get
My
that?
screen,
Okay.
my screen is frozen. My screen was frozen, and you were in the corner like that. So it looked like you was sniffing mad drugs. I was like, what kind of cocaine is this guy sniffing? Is that in
Crashed
powder
it.
form or is it rocks?
Held a message for reasons sex-based terms. What the hell? I'll allow it. I'll
What?
allow it.
What?
There's Mike mentioned the word sex in chat, and Twitch held it for review.
Oh shit.
He said you eat vegetables and Neuralink gives you an orgasm.
Does Twitch do that? Does it flag stuff?
Yeah, for terms of service and whatever. But yeah,
TOS.
Interesting.
because all those bikini hot tub streamers or ASMR streamers,
Sounds
they don't
like a
want
ton of shit to me.
I see what you did there. That was good.
That's what happens when you rap.
Yo, you eat vegetables,
Man,
Neuralink
I
gives you
feel
an
like
orgasm. You
rappers
do
have
anything
really
and you get an orgasm. You just get awesome. You just turn it on. You wake up. Oh, I just came. You just you brush your teeth. Oh, I just came.
Who would want to live like that? That sounds like torture.
Well, you can turn it off and on. But
man.
there's some people out there who can't. Yeah, it is torture. Who can't turn it off and on. It's just always on. That's rough.
What? Nah, man. Sometimes you just gotta be. You just want to be normal. I just want to eat a sandwich. Like,
Well, you get to choose. You get to choose. It's like, oh, you're about to eat a sandwich. Would you like to come after? You're like,
no.
Nope. I'm busy.
Huh.
Oh, there's a lot of potential and a lot of scary stuff with Neuralink, but I don't think any of us are gonna experience its grand like solutions in our lifetime anyway. Hopefully we reach there.
What Ren mentioned was a good point though. Like, anything's hackable, man.
Yeah. That's scary.
I don't want somebody in my brain. That's crazy. Hey man,
Yeah,
get out of
pretty
there.
wild.
So it's an
Pretty
encryption type
wild.
of thing. Well, you would have to trust whoever makes it, gives it. Like, why would it need to be? Something that only relies on the hosts. It's interconnected with information exchange, but grants zero control. It has to be.
If it's
zero
read
control.
only, like
Yeah.
if it's read only, then it's fine. But if it's read and write to your brain, then you're fucked.
Yeah. Right. And you gotta trust.
So
You gotta trust Elon that he would make it read only, but he has like the ultimate permission checkbox. He grants it.
yeah, probably
Yeah,
does.
I wonder what this guy's thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, but that read-only is still bad too. Then you can't have like, right? You can't have secrets.
Explicit things.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
True.
So if you have like a police state or surveillance state, then you're fucked. Because then they would, if they own that, they can see everything you're thinking. Like you
That's
can't even
crazy.
think shit and they'd come after you, man. Like Minority Report type of shit.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
Scary water, scary hours.
Yeah. They're like, oh, you haven't done this yet? I know you're thinking about it.
Therefore,
Coming after you.
you're arrested and
We're gonna
killed.
lock you
Yeah.
up.
Oh yeah, the likelihood of committing the
Yeah, they'll arrest you based on the percentage.
yeah. Oh, I forgot that.
Gosh. That'll be
Mike
that
said,
number.
just like
Pretty fucked
COVID,
up.
there will always be people who don't adopt or reject.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
There's a break-in
Good
period for
luck.
everyone, you know.
yeah. They're gonna apply that pressure. Oh, you're not gonna take this? Bet. Just wake up the next day.
What was
like,
the original?
Hey, where am I?
chat?
What was the original what?
The original topic of this? I feel like we may have veered off.
Wow, yeah, we went from well, Neuralink was definitely the tying idea for all of the things we just talked about. Language, information exchange, and then it became about like sustainability and procreation and sex, and now permissions. But yeah,
Yeah.
Did you guys get it?
Neuralink,
Mhm.
the first iteration, probably not. I won't be the first to try it, just like
I-
everything else.
If I can disconnect, sure. Like turn it on, turn it off. You know how like you could just turn off your phone and you're good? Like nobody's gonna see that shit. So or like disconnect from Wi-Fi? Sure, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're not gonna be hacked unless somebody actually goes to you. Then you're fucked.
I
So
think
let's
yeah, I
say-
think if it's like a thing you can just put on and like take off, like nothing's implanted, and it's like a
Yeah.
device that you can like purchase, so you know it's not like some shit that's already like in your home. You have to have graded like a thing you put on your brain, and you're in the. Okay.
Yeah.
I see the appeal of that in today's world because there's the distrust aspect, right? We don't know whoever makes it will be trustworthy enough to grant, you know, implanting it in our bodies. So yeah, it'll be something that everyone's going to be open to, maybe some device you put over your temples or something like that, and you can take it off, turn it off. But
Like a scouter.
eventually,
Black Mirror.
you know, they do an injection, but again, you can turn it off, on and off, and then eventually, you know, it's an injection, and then you'll never feel like you need to turn it off and on because it's injected at birth. You know, it's like just like these vaccinations at birth, right? Just like maybe circumcision
yeah.
at birth, you know, like
What the fuck?
hey,
That's where we're going? Okay.
the kids don't decide that. The parents do, right? It's like, hey, would you like us to give the full schedule of
Yeah.
vaccinations for your kid? Parents are like, yes. Would you like us
Okay.
to circumcise your boy? Parents are like, okay. You know, it's like, would you like us to pierce your baby's ears for ear piercing? Parents decide that too. It's messed
That's the
up.
parents' right, though, isn't it?
Piercing of the ears? Should it be?
Yeah. It's
Who's
it's hard for the
who's the
child to
ultimate?
decide, so
alternative decider?
when-
Society.
When they grow up and decide if they want it or not.
Okay.
I was
but
just
no, I
thinking
mean,
that too, but if they're exposed to a risk of dying, like measles or some shit, then I think it is a responsibility of the parent. You have to weigh out the risk, right? Like if the risk is high, like circumcision, you could delay it until they're older, then they could decide. But for
Right.
like vaccines, if they're gonna die, if they get it, if there's a high likelihood that they won't make it through,
Yeah.
then you have that obligation as a parent to take
That's
care
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
kid.
It makes sense.
Reduce
Like the schedule of vaccines as a baby gets now has been fully adopted now by like all medical where it's not even a thought of contention anymore. It's like, oh yeah, that's what we got to do. Yeah, do it. Oh yeah, that's what we got to do. Yeah, do it. And eventually
Yeah.
you adopt something
I mean,
long enough like that.
It's hard though because right now there are too many variables. Like you send the kids to school, right? And like they're exposed by like say 28 different kids in the room. Like you never know what's going to happen there. If you can control that environment when they're a kid, that they don't get exposed to these things and they don't fuck up somebody else's life, then it's like a social responsibility, I think, type of thing, where it's kind of like the COVID vaccine. It's like you don't do it mainly for yourself. It's actually more for the whole, for the other people that you're surrounded with.
Well, what if it's
I don't know
even
if I'm
like you
making
don't
any
even
sense.
need vaccinations? It's just like you know, just like a test tube baby, like not even just choosing the genetic makeup of the kid, but like, do you want them to have all the antibodies for all known diseases that's ever occurred in mankind? And you're like, yeah. And then they just program it, and then it's in the genetic, it's in the gene code, you know?
That's
Like,
that, but that's difficult though, right? Because you don't have an unlimited amount of space in your body. Like you have to make trade-offs.
really?
In every decision, there's a trade-off, right? Yeah, I mean, like, imagine if you had the antibodies for everything. Like, wouldn't that mean like some of your kills would others kill other cells? Like,
Dude, apparently
you know
there's
what I
this
mean? Is that
video that just came out from Kyrgyzstan today. It's a 3-part series. They didn't
Immune
touch on
system?
this part, but the immune system. And they said maybe part 2 or part
So
3
cool.
talks about how you have an infinite level of resistance.
antibodies?
Yeah,
Red blood cell?
your antibodies. You have this like unlimited library, and and your like T cells or whatever just need to unlock the right one whenever anything new is introduced to your body. And apparently, it's
But they don't. But having a library of one copy is different from having all the antibodies all the time. You know what I mean?
well
It's like
that's
having an army of one type, but like having millions of types rather than having a million of a million types. It's like your body can't hold a million of a million types
no,
of things.
but
if
it's
that
a
makes sense.
library, and then what it tells it is according to the video anyway. I just watched it today, is these T cells find it in the library, and then they activate it, and then it replicates. Like that one is what it needs at that time, so therefore that's when it replicates, and then it leaves a little bit at the end when it wins. But it's you're not
So
filled
don't
with
we?
all of them. Hmm?
So we technically have that already.
Apparently,
That's what you're saying.
that's what the video said. Apparently,
Okay.
so I don't know.
It was a good video. Kurt's got
Really?
this cool.
I love Chris because
There's this
Sorry.
what's it called? Explained on Netflix. You guys seen that? You guys watch that?
what's that?
There's a show called Explained on Netflix.
Oh no.
Yeah,
It's a
just
great
like
show.
I'll be right back.
yeah, it just like goes through like different topics and stuff like that. But you seen it, Ren? There was one I was watching that was talking about what's it called? Gene editing, and like how like at some point we'll be able to, like Gattaca will be able to encode like to have our offspring, our children be born without any defects and born with just like perfect health type shit. But at some point it's gonna go from that to being cosmetic. You know, it's like, okay, now I want my kid to have like super athletic build. Now I want my kid to have like a really high IQ.
Mhm.
So
Imagine though,
Your
everyone just
point
ends up
about-
looking the same.
yeah, your point
Yeah.
about what's the other thing you were talking about, Ren? When you said, what's the trade-off for that going to be though? Like, because we have like a
The
limited...
trade-off is we don't have genetic variability, and say if everybody, there's a cultural trend, right? Like everybody naming their kids Blake or some shit. But think of that in terms of like genetics. If everybody has the same genes, you don't have enough variability to handle all possible scenarios in the universe that could fuck up that one gene that everybody has. Does that make sense? Like that variability is required in the universe essentially.
But
Like,
what if we come up with the gene like Rogue, like X-Men Rogue, where she could like adapt, or not Rogue, sorry, like Mystique,
Mystique?
shape shift, and you
I
can
think
like adapt.
Darwin is probably the X-Men that's more likely.
Like that. Yeah.
He essentially he evolves specifically for whatever threat he's coming up
Oh,
against.
sick.
But yeah,
Is that
Dope.
a
like
gene?
That'd
I
be
think
cool.
there,
Like a
there
mutant
could be a
gene.
gene. I think it's the closest thing we have to that right now is just our brains. Like our brains can adapt to every new situation, theoretically and hypothetically first in our heads, and then we can counteract that. But genes, I think, it just takes longer because it's a generational thing rather than like a one person type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you think in terms of species, we've evolved a lot genetically. Oh, actually, genetically, we haven't evolved a lot since the early Homo sapien days, but we have evolved culturally a lot. I'm actually listening to Sapiens right now. Great book, very like on point of what's happening right now or what we're talking about.
Cool.
But like, yeah, we have a. I think there was the cognitive revolution of when we. I don't want to summarize
You don't
this
want to
book.
misquote.
I don't know how
You
to
don't wanna
summarize
misquote.
it. But
Right.
yeah.
We got you.
But yeah, our brains are the closest thing to adapting. Like, ideally, it would be nice if our genes could adapt within our lifetimes, but the way evolution has worked so far is that it only adapts each generation. This is why we have two parents to handle genetic variability. Like half of our random genes come from one parent, half of the random from another parent, and it creates a whole new combination to potentially try different variations of genetics, right?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Depending
shout out to
on
Gregor.
whatever environment.
Shout out to Gregor Mendel,
Who's that?
the father of genetics.
Oh.
Learn about him in genetics class,
Fantastic.
University Waterloo.
Hey yo. But you know how you guys have
What was
heard
his
too
name?
that we only
There
use
you go.
10% of our brain power, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think
heard that.
that's a misquote.
Is it a myth? Is it a myth?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, explain.
Like it. So our brain is so efficient that it only needs to run 10%, rather than
Oh.
having to run 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like the heart. Like, if you're running full speed, but your heart is still beating like 60 beats per minute instead of it needing 100.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Okay,
Yeah. Like
okay,
you
so
don't want to like overrun it.
it's like, okay, you're saying from what we need, from what our body needs from the brain, only the brain only needs to use 10% of it. So it's almost like the CPU, the processor in a computer, or the RAM, just a limited amount. But we don't need. So that's for this body to function 100%. The brain only needs to operate 10. So it's not necessarily to say that we could tap into the extra 90 because it's only limited to only functioning the body. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Something along those lines. Like what? Like if our brain was like constantly firing, it's like having an acid trip, man. Like going back to that, like fuck you, just everything going on at the same time. Like
Full circle.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, but how efficient
Like
could
a
that be
seizure.
if you can like not wouldn't multitasking be a thing then? Like you could read something while you are also remembering and studying something while you are also planning something in the future. Why can't you do all that at once? You know, but we can't.
I think the misperception, like if we're thinking in terms of multitasking, it's because our brains are currently evolved right now to handle time in only one dimension, I think. So it's like everything we perceive through our senses, everything has like an element of time to it. You know what I mean? Like things exist in the 3 dimensions of space and time. Like three dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. Codes that time instinctively for all those things. I think if you want to multitask, then your brain should be able. There are ways of multitasking right now, but it's not really multitasking. It's more like switching focus from one thing to another really quickly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, the best way to multitask is to do one thing at a time. I've read that many times. Like I've read that in multiple cases. And like It's true. Like we can actually do more than one thing at a time. It's just when you can focus on one thing, you get it done quicker. You could do other things sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man,
But like if you're multitasking, like you could do like I listen to audiobooks while I'm walking. That's multitasking. It's like one thing can be subconscious and another thing could be conscious. So
I could totally drive somewhere and get somewhere while having a conversation, listening to music,
or being high.
and chewing gum. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. We can't. Okay, the body can task, but just not mental tasks. You know, like you can't do more than one mental task at a time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it's a limit of our what is it called?
That's a good distinction to make.
Our working memory.
Right? Like this.
That's a good distinction to make. Like multitasking, as far as like the body versus the brain.
Yeah.
It's like our body can do like a couple things because we have like different limbs and fucking eyes and like we have different like perceiving tools,
Yeah.
right? But like our brain is just like, as far as like task focus, you can only focus on one task at a time
Processing power.
and
Yeah.
like switch back and forth like really quick.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a good distinction.
sucks.
Yo, that's so funny. Like how you just pointed that out, Ren, because like it just brought me back to how crazy like misinformation is. Like you know how many billions of people think that, man, I just need a machine and I'll be 90% more time smarter. It's like no. Your brain is just not needing to work as hard.
That's the first time I've ever heard that, and it makes a lot of sense.
Same. It makes so much sense.
It makes so much sense.
I mean, it's not like I read it from somewhere. I can't remember where, so it's not. I didn't come up with it myself, but
is it fact?
people have done experiments and whatnot.
It is fact then?
You can look it up. No.
Okay. Look it up, FJ.
Yeah, I think looking it up is.
But you're
probably the
here
safer
now.
bet.
Aha.
Yeah, but it has to be testable for it to be true. Like I can't say it's true unless I can give you an experiment to actually validate this
Right.
hypothesis.
Maybe some people, like maybe dumber people, need more than 10%. And maybe smarter people only need like 3%.
See,
All right.
yeah, I think it's like a game of broken telephone. Like,
So,
especially all these things.
so like, okay, so why are like some people smarter and some people like not like as smart?
It depends on what you mean by smart. Like, they produce more? Do
like
they
learning?
understand?
Yeah, like just like processing information. Let's use that as a metric.
Well, even the
The
left brain,
biggest
right brain,
thing
creative
I've
versus
seen-
analytical, right? Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I've seen is it's all about mental models. Like I don't know if you guys know who Charlie Munger is. Elon Musk has them as well. It's like you form the way we model the world in our heads makes it easier or harder to perceive or understand things. If that
Sorry,
makes sense.
Are you guys reading
Okay.
chat too from Twitch? Because you know, Data and Mike
No,
are
I
saying
can't.
things. Oh, you can't. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Oh shit.
I'm also sawing and I'm going in a weird diagonal.
You're multitasking.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't be doing that.
Dede said, "Imagine if Neuralink lets you control Android version of yourself, so you get to do things you wouldn't do with your own body." Mike's like, "Would your brain
There's a
explode
movie
doing
of that.
things that your body isn't able to do?" And then Dede's like, "Never mind. I realized that's pretty much what Avatar was." And then Dede's answer to
Yeah.
why are some people smarter than others? And Dede's like, because life isn't fair. And
Oh
then-
shit. After you
yeah.
got 113 followers on this bitch.
Yeah, followers, just
Nice.
not viewers.
Oh,
No, that's dope though.
No,
that's pretty good.
thanks,
Okay.
thank you.
Who's Crash Test Dummy? What is this?
That's
Crash
Mike.
Test Dummy is Mike.
Oh.
Dede is Dede, obviously. Our own podcast. All good. Me and Dede will talk to each other.
Man, this chat.
Wait, what was the question? Was there a question?
You can type in there too. Sorry, yeah, Deji. You asked the last question. I missed it.
Oh shit. Whoa,
Oh,
shit.
damn.
What was my question?
Yeah.
I'm trying to log into the chat.
I should
Or
have
into
put on
Twitch.
mute again.
What was my question?
I don't know.
I don't remember. I don't remember that shit.
Was it about being smarter? Like, why can't we learn? Why are some people?
Oh,
Yeah. So yeah, why are like some people like not able to process information? Like, oh yeah, you said modeling. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
You need either more mental models or either more or better mental models. That's like especially what I know Charlie Munger has said that like your idea of the world needs to adapt to include all the new information that you get, right? And if you the more mental models you have of something, like the more patterns you see, like, oh, this just looks like this, that looks like this. So then you can just reincorporate that in what you already have. Because our brain, the chemistry of our brain is all just networks. So everything just connects to everything. So the more
Right.
the more diverse that model you keep in your brain, the more you can connect to it and just build on it. This is why this is what Elon Musk calls like the tree of knowledge. Semantic tree of knowledge, which just means the meaning tree of meaning. I don't know. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people are just exposed to different mental models when they're younger, right? Like people like fucking Mozart, like he started playing when he's earlier, so he understands some of the things more innately than somebody that's new to piano or something, you know?
Okay. So you think it's just like exposure to models and how early you were exposed? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a large element, but I still think there's still like an intangible. There's still something intangible there.
I'm pretty sure I didn't do
Yeah, I
anything
think
until like grade 1. Like learning wise, I didn't do any kind of recognition or exercises until I went to grade 1.
a
So
lot of the learning that we do it doesn't need to be conscious, especially at a younger age. Like babies learn to mimic, right? Like they pick up things from what they see rather than
Yeah, that trips me the fuck out. Like, how do babies learn to talk? That shit still blows my fucking mind.
yeah,
oh,
it's pretty
okay.
cool. I think
So
there was a TED talk about that. A guy like who filmed his kid right when he was like super young to like when he's actually forming his words. It's
yeah.
really fucking cool if I can find it.
This is
Sorry, you're
my
gonna say
five.
it.
This is my 5 minute timer check. I'm gonna be logging off because I got an early day tomorrow in 5.
Oh, I know. That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah,
Mike
man.
did say, how do kids learn so much faster than adults?
I feel like it's a from what it sounds like, it's all about focus. Like focus, it might be the innate thing that Deji's talking about. Like some people are able to focus and some can't, and it makes it harder if you can't focus on things. And kids like when they're drawn to something, like they notice it a lot. They're more likely to internalize it faster than somebody that already has like biases towards something or is distracted by things. You know,
Hmm.
Yeah,
distraction is a big problem.
adults do have a lot more to worry about in their mental like
Yeah.
resources, right? Whereas the kids like, oh, something new, focus. And it's all about,
Hmm.
taking the first step, learning the first word. But as we're
Interesting.
adults, we're always worried about like, okay, well, I gotta pay the bill, or I gotta go to work tomorrow, gotta get sleep, gotta do this, and it's all in the back of the mind. I guess resources are just not as free.
Gotta take a shit.
Yeah, that too.
Gotta wipe it.
Yeah, like
Whereas the kid is like, bleh.
Right
Doesn't even
now, it's
think
like
about it. It's just like,
yeah,
bleh.
you don't even have to go to the washroom. It's like gotta go
Right,
now.
whatever.
On that note, that is a good time to sign off. Thanks, guys, for joining. I do think maybe next year, next week, maybe we could expand on learning. I don't know. We'll figure out maybe subject. That's a good subject matter further into learning. But that was cool. Again, appreciate everyone coming out this week. See you next week, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Signing off. Here we go. Thanks for watching. Thanks, guys, again for coming out. Ren, Deji, and Mike and Dede on the chat. Thanks, guys. Peace.
Oh, I see. You logged out of your Twitch thing here. Cool.
It will be. Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.